As a parent, it's only natural to want your child to reach their highest potential. And with that comes the search for the best schools and, of course, a bit of added parental pressure. Our next guest is asking for parents to rethink their approach in her new book, Never Enough: When Achievement Culture Becomes Toxic and What We Can Do About It. The award-winning journalist takes a look at the steep price kids often pay in the quest for perfection. Jennifer Wallace, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so you yourself went to Harvard. Describe what you mean by these certain private schools and the communities that you're talking about in the book.
Yeah, so I looked at what the researchers call high-achieving schools. Those are public and private schools around the country. Those kids are now officially an at-risk group, according to national policy reports. At-risk meaning they are 2 to 6 times more likely to suffer from clinical levels of anxiety, depression, substance abuse disorder than the average American teen. So it's not just pockets throughout the country. It's not just specific schools. This has been found throughout the U.S.
And when you talk about these at-risk kids, you're talking about, you're comparing them to groups of kids who are living in poverty, foster care, recent immigrants, and those with incarcerated parents. Why the same?
I mean, I'm certainly not weighing them against each other. I think it's undoubtedly, obviously, the traditional at-risk kids are under-resourced and they need our attention. It's a newly named group, these high-achieving kids that, are under this excessive pressure to achieve. And when I asked a researcher, how could we even call them at risk? And she said, no one is putting pain on a scale. A child in pain is a child in pain. And as the adults in the room, we have to do something about it.
So you spent 3 years, you met with 200 different families. What did you hear from them?
Oh, I heard stories of, kids not sleeping, competition coming in between friendships, the loneliness, the isolation young people were feeling and families themselves were feeling, this intense pressure to make their kid a success. Modern parents, are raising kids in these pretty extraordinary economic conditions. They're seeing the inequality, they're seeing the crush of the middle class, and parents feel tasked with setting their kids up for success. And this book does not blame parents. This book just simply says, we are all in this, and this is something that needs our attention.
Is there any differentiation for parents who are minorities? Because quite often there is this societal pressure that you have to overachieve when you are a minority.
Yes, not only that, what I heard from the families that I interviewed and the students was that not only were they under an excessive pressure to achieve, they then had an additional layer of discrimination, of stereotypes that they had to fight against. So added pressures.
And so what advice do you give to parents who want their children to perform, but at the same time not feel this emotional, mental burden and stress?
So what the experts will tell you who study this population, that the most important thing parents can do is to actually make home a haven from the pressure, that our kids are getting these messages that they're not enough, that they need to achieve more and more from everywhere, from peers parents, from teachers, from colleges. And so home needs to be a place to recover from the pressure. We need to be really careful about making our criticism as narrow as we can, so not criticizing the child, but rather criticizing the deed should they do something wrong. And we really need to prioritize affection. We need to greet our kids at least once a day, as one psychologist told me, like the family puppy greets their kids. Just seeing them for the joy that they are and the joy that they bring you in.
So fair enough that home needs to be the haven, but when you are thinking about schools, how can parents be better prepared when they're saying, do I go to this private school or magnet school or public school, or, what's best for my child and their success in the future and their mental health?
It's a really good question. So a lot of schools now are having mental health report cards. They're not necessarily public, but you could ask the school, is this a school that surveys the mental health of their student body? And how do you prioritize mental health? So it's something to ask about.
All right. Very good, helpful conversation that the parents are having with their children and with their spouses all over the country and world. So we really appreciate the insight that you offer in your book, Jennifer, and her book, Never Enough: When Achievement Culture Becomes Toxic and What We Can Do About It is now available wherever books are sold.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.